Okay, back still hurts, shoulder ain't near as bad, but my spine and back muscles are just stupid hurting and I'm having trouble moving, but on a good note, I think the squid is trying to apologize, as it left me a book.
The squid left you a book? How do you know? What book did it leave you?
I'll be honest, I actually don't know for certain that the squid did leave it. All I know is that I woke up and I had a book on my desk. Unless one of your serfs is sneaking into my room while I sleep and leaving gifts.
You want me to be honest? That's not a 0 chance. I've actually been... well... I'm trying to avoid Slaneshi influence, but we've been enjoying our long discussions.
That's definitely a crime, but I'll be honest, we as the Watch Fortress just barely follow laws anyway.
I'm gonna be honest, I'm disgusted by the idea of a human and a space elf having intercourse. To me, it's like an animal and a person doing that. Despite the fact both of us are very sentient, we're not the same, and nothing similar. Of course, there's some OG lore of half Eldar space marines, which I'm pretty sure that was retconned out of it, and those characters were made into Malkador's weird experiments.
I'd be lying if I wasn't curious if we could do something to make something, but I don't think that's a good chance. Of course, you humans have less time and tend to reproduce like flies.
Says the species that literally fucked a demonic power into existence, but this book I got from what I assumed to be the squid, yeah, I woke up with this book here. Monty Python's co-curricular medieval reenactment program. This has a little thing at the bottom of the cover that I think should be noted. A role-playing game is crossed out, with written beneath it in bold, "No it isn't." There's a reason I say that. I don't think this should be looked at like a game. It has a game, but it's a game that takes the piss out of games, and we'll go into that. So first let's talk about this book. It does have a bit of a game, but the game is a joke at the expense of TTRPGs in general. It talks about all the dice you'll need, including, but not limited to, a D30, a D14, and a D7. You see the jokes? Yeah. We'll get into character creation in a moment, which has some beef to it, but after this chapter, the book actually gives some information about the show and the Holy Grail movie. It talks about it as though it's in the context of the game, but you can read it like an informational. I actually like this. This book essentially is a multi-use book. So let's talk about character creation, which will hopefully teach us the game. You know, at this point, I'm of the opinion that a character creation should teach you how to play the TTRPG in question. Now, step 1 is choose a situation, which the game clarifies is your role or class or job or whatever have you. Now, it also says that you don't need to choose a class, role, whatever, as your school career counselor will tell you. Of course, this spelling of it, I don't even know. Why does it have an extra L? But each situation will come into a class as in an income bracket, upper, middle, and lower class, and one or more must-have traits. So situations, this book isn't too clear on what it is. I thought this part was about the retainers, but double checking, I think it is actually about the situations. They're as follows: the Churl, Cleric, Enchanter, Eremite, Knave, Knight, Monarch, Monk or Nun, Noble, and Troubadour. I could go into details about them, but honestly reading each one, and it very plainly explains itself. Good job so far. Step 2 is to record your must-have traits and one accoutrement for each. My writing program is genuinely hating me right now for how a lot of these words are spelled, and even I'm confused on a lot of this shit.
But if I'm reading this right, you'll write the accoutrements, which I'm pronouncing it as it's spelled, and you can look at this word right here in one of the slots. You'll then roll a d10 for each one, then mark the slot that correlates to it, one being the furthest to one side or the other. I still don't know if you want to make high rolls or low rolls. From what I guess, you'll roll that die when you make checks that involve this word? Now, this section also touches on equipment and deeds, which seem to be feats, but they can both add or subtract from tests involving this score. Some accoutrements require some help, called retainers, or certain vehicles. Some of these traits also have one-time use bonuses, depending on the situations. This goes on for about 2 or 3 pages just on this one thing, which seems to be the primary use of how the game works. And looking at the situations listings, it seems like the D30 is brought in when doing this bullshit. Step 3 is to get your retainers figured out. This is another 3 pages, one of which is a full page of a table on how it works. And you figure it out with a D12. The retainers get their own classes too. And if you lose your character for any reason, they can become your new character with the proper checks. This one is a lot of stuff, but I kind of like the fact that there's a subsection that just states you can throw your retainers under the bus to get yourself out of trouble. At least it doesn't take itself too seriously. Step 4 is a short paragraph, plus it's essentially just fill out your sheet with the stuff you want. It seems like the whole character sheet is supposed to be filled, with every single line being a different thing. If that makes sense? Step 5 is figuring out what dice you roll for each. It looks like each class has certain dice, which you can place into different things. But that brings up the question as to what the D10 earlier was for. I don't know, this is starting to get confusing. Step 6 is now flavor stuff, at least mostly, but this book goes further into how checks are done, and I actually think this needs to be looked into. This game is an evolving dice system, with a mix of a standard D20 system, but it doesn't utilize the normal sets of dice that most systems would use. This game actually uses dice that you will have hell actually finding. Have you ever seen a D13? I haven't. I want to point out that this game also sold special dice for that went with it. A D30 was not in the bag, but a coconut was for obvious reasons. I do know that you can find some of these wild dice on Etsy, but you have to worry about custom-made dice on that site are actually rollable, and not just countdown dice. So, what about the score for this game? Well, I have to give it multiple scores, actually. As a game, I'm gonna have to give it 68 to 70%, maybe? It's incredibly hard to play, would easily get people to want to try it out, but actually trying it, you'll need to utilize either a phone program or a custom dice in order to roll anything. It's just way too complex in how to play for a game system that is actually insanely simple and meant to be just some silly fun.
From a movie nerd perspective, however, this book is a 90% for me. I love the information through the entire book about how things were done and how the TV show and movies were made. This stuff was made for me, and it does throw jokes in constantly about all that too. So it's a fun little before bed read. But that's the Monty Python game? I'm going to play some traps for that stupid squid now. Shove off.